Good morning, I'm Brooks Compton, Mayor of the City of Centerville, and we're sitting outside on a beautiful spring morning outside my favorite muffin in Pointe Center. I'm joined this morning by Don Wright and Scott Wright, his son, who are the principals of Wright Realty in Centerville. And we have an opportunity to talk with them a little bit about some of the history of Wright Realty, their involvement in the real estate profession, and Pointe Center and other investments they might have. So I want to welcome Don Wright. Don, thanks for joining us here this morning on Centerville Business Today.
My pleasure.
And your son, Scott Wright. Scott, thanks for joining us. One thing I thought we might do initially is just, if you get a chance, just to tell us, Don, a little bit about your history in the real estate profession.
Well, it's been a long one, about 50 years I've been in the real estate business, and more recently got into development, and we began to develop some areas. As a matter of fact, the place where NCR was going to build a golf course down in Springboro, we bought that land when NCR decided they weren't going to do their thing, and so we've been developing that for the last 15 years. It's called Stone Ridge, and then part of it now is called Country Brook. As a matter of fact, Scott lives in Stone Ridge, and one of the first residents in there. And so we've been working that part of it since 15 years ago.
Okay. And Don, I know that you see your name and signs around all over town. I know you were involved with the development of Roberts, is that correct?
That's right.
Can you give us just a little bit of the history of your involvement with Roberts?
Yeah, it was interesting. We started that store with my partner, Ken Fletcher. Ken, unfortunately, has passed away about 10 years ago, but we started it in a little two-story house in West Carrollton, and grew from there to the place where we went into the building that was in BDI Flack. We built a 60,000 square foot building, and we occupied that for about 5 or 6 years. Then we bought what was the old San Ray Gardens, and took that and made that into a Roberts store. It was 120,000 square feet, and then some area in there for other tenants. So we had a fairly nice operation. It was called Carrollton Plaza, and of course it's still there. And the store itself is not there, but the rest of the center is still there.
I think you developed that up to, Scott, I think you have a pretty good history of that also.
It was a unique corporate growth. They started it, the two of them, from a one location in the center of West Carrollton to 24 locations nationwide, and it was in 4 states, and it ended up, I think it was $320 million in sales when it went public in the 90s. So it was kind of a unique mix. Don's been in real estate. He started a company called Mills & Wright when he was 23, and has been in real estate ever since. So the one thing we like about this area is we're local owners. We like to take part in the community, and we know we're going to be here, whether it's our developments or whether it's the center. And I think you end up, because you're local owners, you end up putting a more interest in your tenants and an interest in the location and keeping it to the standard you'd want it to be at.
Sure. And Scott, how long have you been working with your dad?
25 years.
Wow,
25 years.
Doesn't seem like that.
And I know you have a family, Wright Realty is a family operation, and
Right.
I think Gail's involved also. Gail's not here today, but Gail Wright.
We do, and my brother Todd. So we are really a family business. We basically do commercial brokerage and retail brokerage for residential, but mostly what we do is we handle an arm of Don's investments over the years that he's acquired in real estate, and we manage those, like the center, for example, which we bought in 2004.
Well, we are outside Pointe Center, my favorite muffin, which is a staple here at Pointe Center. And Wright Realty, Scott and your brother, I think you manage the site, and Don and Gail obviously very active, involved. Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement with Pointe and some of the unique locations that you have within this particular center?
Well, I think that one of the interesting things is we've been looking for the right user of a restaurant for the center for quite a while. As a matter of fact, Scott moved one of our tenants, which was Pella Windows, moved it out of that corner down there and moved it up into the center. They are now over closer to Outback. So we made that space available for a restaurant. Now we have been negotiating with a restaurant, and I think we're about to close a deal, and it's going to be, I think, a real nice thing for the center and for the area.
It'll bring a new use to the city of Centerville that, although they do have uses in other areas, it's new to this area. But the one nice thing about Cross Pointe that Don's always liked when he decided to invest in this center is he liked the local mix of businesses that we have, because we have a broad mix of both local ownerships and national tenants. For example, we have Outback Steakhouse, which is a national tenant, but we have local tenants like Learning Express franchise is a local owner, and my favorite muffin here, owned by Rich, who does a great job bringing people to our plaza, or Bellagio, that's owned by Jan Timmerman, and he brings a great mix to the center of uses. So in using those together, when we bought the center, we had some changes when Sears ended up moving out because of their financial situation, which everyone knows of. But we ended up bringing Fortis right in and filling that. And we basically when you look, there's 52 different groups, a mix between mom and pop businesses, which local and keep thriving. And it's always important to keep local business, regardless of the way internet shopping is and things like that. You always need a little brick and mortar.
In what year did you acquire the Cross Pointe Center?
It was 10 years ago.
2004.
Yeah.
2004. Well, I think from being around and being involved in the Centerville government over those years, that you've done a terrific job with the center from the standpoint of renovations and improvements from a landscaping standpoint. And in fact, I think, haven't you won the City Beautiful Award a couple times?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have.
We have. One of the things Don does when he invests in properties is he's really good about keep reinvesting. And so, for example, since we've owned the building, we put a new roof on the building, we put new awnings on the building. Our landscaper, who's Landscape Creations, is a local company as well, and they've done a great job of redoing some of the beds in the front areas with some stone and trying to make the city, make the center a little more user friendly.
Well, it looks terrific, and I know that during Christmas season you decorate pretty extensively around here, and I know that. But if you could just explain a little bit about, you have kind of a unique setup on the buildings here at Cross Pointe Center.
We do. As Brooks knows, and as probably everyone in Centerville, the building was built originally as a gold circle sort of a big box, and then they added on in the early 80s. They added on another 217,000 square feet. Plus 2 outbuildings, and which keeps the center, obviously it's a lot bigger than it looks because it sort of stretches along a long basis, but that creates a mix for 52 different tenants in our part of the center, and creates some ability to have not only your big box tenants like Marshall's, who's one of, as a kind of a staple in this center, and then you mix it in with, your local businesses like Busalis, the baker, Rich's business, or Muzak, which has now changed the name.
And some of them have been here for years and years. Zigzag Gallery was here when we bought the center, and they seem to just do a great job. Nobody really knows exactly what they do until you come and see it.
Sure. It's actually a really good mix of product they have. They sell Pandora jewelry and they sell clothing, and Kim Mangelson is a local owner of that business, and she's been in our center for a long time. So we find the longevity really helps people that want to be here. And we add new uses in, like there's a new cryogenic therapy that's opening up next month, which is sort of a medical use for helping rehab injuries and things like that. As you know, Centerville has a big sporting history with the kids, so I think that'll help with injury rehabilitation.
Well, we just opened, Gail Wright was here the other day. We just opened just down from my favorite muffin, Think Printing, and then the Pause Engraving shop right next door. And Maria Gossard and Jeff Schrader, I know, were very enthusiastic about opening up in the center, and they were very complimentary to how much support they received from both of you to get their 2 stores open.
Well, I appreciate that. Jeff's mother had a long history in the center. She owned Guston's Hallmark here in the center for years and years. So when he wanted to open a business of his own, he thought it was natural to come here. And I think with local ownership, what you get is you get someone with the ability to act quickly and not have to wait for decisions to be made and actually reinvest. Because with our tenants, we kind of form a partnership on, they sometimes need our help too with tenant improvement items, and Gail does a real good job of rebuilding out our spaces. So I think we work together to keep everybody healthy.
Yep, I think it's been a very nice relationship, and I know you've had a good relationship with Centerville over the years as far as economic development and things of that sort, that you've been very active at bringing new businesses in here and keeping the center very filled, very full. Even I think when the lower period of time, probably 2008, 2009, you still had great occupancy rates, did you not?
You know, we did. The national average for a center, at least at the time, was 17% vacant, and we've always been able to keep over top of that. And the reason we have is, you know, we're in a great location in the city of Centerville. We're among all the rooftops. We have the locations of 675 and Alex Bell and State Route 48 that all come together in this cross point of roads that help us there. And you know, and as a strength to the location would be, you know, a development that's going in behind, and the old Showcase Cinemas now is looking to build 240 high-end apartment complexes right behind it, which will be nothing but a good use for the city. But I think Don lives in the city, and he wants to reinvest in the city, and so we've done a number of projects that the city of Centerville has helped us through. Like we just sold to Creative World Child Care a piece of property over on Wilmington Pike that they tore down and are building a giant school for. So it'll be a nice use for the city.
Yeah, that's the Montessori school.
That's the Montessori school. Yeah.
Appreciate your getting. They'd have a great product. So
they do, and they're great users. They're local owners as well, and they have a number of different locations around the area. But they wanted to be in Centerville, and that's what brought them to us, and then subsequently to the city.
Well, that's great.
One of the important things is that Centerville's been very cooperative with us. We've had a really good relationship, and they've helped us over some rough spots over the years as we've changed tenants, and they've been very easy to work with. So it's been a very good relationship.
Well, that's great. And I know from the standpoint of your involvement, do you have some other involvements in the area then that?
We have some rental property around Centerville area, and we've started buying rental property many years ago, and we've just kind of continued that. Scott manages that, and also in Kettering and some of the other surrounding areas close by.
Scott, a little bit of your background. I know you've been with your dad for 20-some years.
I have.
What brought you into the business?
We know it's funny when we would go in, you know, like I said, we're a local ownership and a local family-run business, and when Don would take me to school in the mornings at Tower Heights and Centerville and Watts, he would take me before we went to school to the units and have me help him do what we call move-outs and changeovers of our rentals. And so I always knew I wanted to come in and help, and so I got a finance degree from the University of Miami and came right in the business in 1991, and ever since then, you know, Don's developed over the years since 1960 a broad base of homes that we own, plus we have about 2 million square feet of office, retail, and industrial all around the local area that we own in a number of different projects that keeps us pretty busy.
Well, that's great. Well, I know I've had a chance to work with my dad too over the years in my profession, and it's very gratifying to have an opportunity to do that.
It was. I was very lucky. I had a great teacher, and you know, I always knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to come in and help the family.
Well, that's great. Well, on behalf, I really want to thank you both for being here today, and particularly on behalf of all of Centerville and Centerville's residents. You have a great location right here at the corner of 48 and I-675. It's thought of as a tremendous center, and it is a tremendous center. I know firsthand what great working relationships you've established with the tenants here and what you've done to try to promote the center and promote Centerville. So we very much appreciate that.
And thank you for your time today.
Scott, I appreciate you being here on Centerville Business Today. And Don, it was a pleasure to also have an opportunity to talk with you and know a little bit more about your history and your involvement through the area. And again, we thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for being a part of Centerville.
Thank you, sir.
So glad for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. Well, I wanted to wrap up Centerville Business Today. We've been with Don Wright and Scott Wright here, right in front of my favorite muffin in Pointe Center here in Centerville, at one of the greatest centers here in this area. So Don and Scott, thank you very much for being with us today, and look forward to seeing you again. And next Centerville Business Today, watch us then. Thank you.